The skunk's just looking for something to eat. And believe me, as dry as it is in the country right now, you're going to see a lot more skunks in town than you've ever seen.
Well, we've got a privacy fence all the way around, and we plugged up all the holes under it trying to. So if we're going to put this peppermint under the shed, do we leave the gates open at night? How do we get past it when it's leaving?
Probably be a good idea. Probably be a good idea.
Or if we trapped it, can you just carry it off?
That's a good question. Let me tell you how you do it if you get a skunk in a live trap. Because I thought I was trapping a raccoon out by my fish pond one day, and I caught a skunk instead. And, you know, I didn't want to get sprayed, so I took a plastic garbage bag and held between me and the live trap. I went over, skunk didn't spray. I draped the plastic bag over the live trap. Skunk still didn't spray. I picked the live trap up very carefully, put it in the truck. This was back when you could still drive through Camp Bullis, and I relocated this skunk out to Camp Bullis. Took it out of the truck, lifted the lid, and the skunk wandered off. A veterinarian told me later you did exactly the right thing. He said keep them in the dark, and they're not going to spray. So, you know, don't try to keep them from really looking at you, and just, you know, drape it, keep them dark, and chances are you can move them. Now, don't be like Patrick that worked for us. He did everything right till he went to put the skunk in the trunk, and then he whammed it into part of the trunk and jostled the thing around, and the skunk sprayed. I wouldn't blame it. I probably would too. But anyway, just handle it carefully and you can probably move it. Yes, ma'am.
With it getting as cold as it is tonight and next night, are you going to put row covers on your vegetables?
I don't have any vegetables out because I live in Bernie. It's too early to plant up there. In town,
You've got the peas and a couple of things.
oh no, it's not going to bother my peas or no. It would get tomatoes or peppers or squash or beans.
Yeah.
And if you've already planted those that are up, yeah, get some insulate and cover. And who knows whether it's going to get that cold or not.
You know, I bought some of that pretty purple sage or something. And, you know, it's a mountain that got pretty chilly one night in the last week.
It's probably not going to bother it. The wind may dehydrate some things.
Boy,
But
it took both of those plants.
yeah, the wind or the cold is not going to bother petunias, not going to bother dianthus, unless it gets in the mid-20s. Not going to bother geraniums or fuchsias. But this wind is hard on things. If you've got things in pots or in hanging baskets, put them down on the ground. This is a very dry wind and a very chilly wind. We moved all the tomatoes and peppers a few minutes ago into the greenhouse if anybody's looking for those, because the wind is just so dehydrating. Yes.
On the morning show, you talked about getting back poinsettias, and you said 18 inches and stop by midsummer. The point I missed was, what if the poinsettia still has green on the top? Does that go by your pruning rule of 30%? Or
No, poinsettias are going to sprout out so quickly you can prune just about as much as you want off of them.
starting now?
Yeah, yeah, certainly. Yes. Thank you for coming.
What do you think of you're cuter than you sound?
Thank you, I think. I'm sorry, what do I think of what? I think if you're using compost, it's unnecessary. But if you want to do it, it doesn't hurt anything as long as it doesn't punch holes in your sprinkler system. Yes.
All right. Reason I've got this lemon tree.
Uh-huh.
Had a hell of a time growing this thing. Up at the top, something's eating it constantly. Only up about 4.5 feet up. Everything below 4.5 feet it doesn't touch. It's just eating up my leaves. And I don't see anything. I gone out there with flashlight.
It could be a caterpillar or it could be a bushy-tailed tree rat. You probably call it a squirrel.
Okay.
Put some blood meal around the base of it, which will help run the squirrel off and be a good fertilizer. To be on the safe side, spray it with some BT. The BT is a worm killer, and a little bit of molasses. The BT is bacterial. We just said molasses is a real strong bacterial stimulant. A tablespoon of molasses per gallon of spray will make your BT about 20 times more effective. It should be one of those two things. Those are the only two things I know that would get after the foliage. Yes, sir.
I've got a small oak tree with St. Augustine grass around it. Probably got a 15-foot diameter growth.
Okay.
And right underneath the edge of that growth, last grass started dying.
Almost have to
And
see
just
some.
bring dead grass almost all the way around the tree. But, you know, like 8 foot out from it.
I'd have to guess either fungus or grubs, but without seeing the grass, it'd be hard to say. Probably not a bad thing. The oak tree would rather not have grass under it because grass is competing for water and nutrients. But I guess fungus more than anything. Yes, sir.
Do you recommend anything to prevent termites?
Beneficial nematodes will totally control termites, but termites are a natural thing. I would worry, if you lay a board in your yard, if you don't have termites in it in 2 or 3 weeks, I'd worry about your yard. Because termites are everywhere. And the fact that you're seeing termites does not mean you need to panic and pay thousands of dollars. But if you've got them in your home, you probably ought to get some professional help. You got them in a fence or something like that, put beneficial nematodes around you, control them completely. Fire ants will also control termites completely. But remember that right now the only kind of termites we're dealing with are what they call subterranean termites. They live in the ground. They may go up in the fence or up in the wood to eat, but they live in the ground. So if we treat the ground with something appropriate like beneficial nematodes, we'll wipe them out. Yes?
Nematodes. How long do they live? How often do you spray them?
Nematodes in the refrigerator will live for 2 or 3 weeks, so put them out pretty quickly. When you put them, when you put them in the soil, they probably live about 45 days. But as long as they are finding insects to reproduce in, 2 nematodes get together in a grub worm, they can produce 100,000 baby nematodes in a week's time. So as long as they're finding insects to reproduce in, their numbers are going to stay up. When they've wiped out all the bad guys, then you may have to reapply if you have a sundown break of fleas or something like that.
My yard's nothing basically but weeds. So I've been trying, it's good now, it died out basically. So I want to do the like zero landscaping or whatever. Until I get to that, would it be good to go get some of the free mulch and just spread it over there? And then where I decide to plant it, be fine, then wherever I
Break
put
it
the
back?
rock.
Sure.
That-
That'd
One,
be fine.
out on the curb, because my soil washes away, thought I was going to kill the weed that was out there, but I put the plastic down,
Yep.
and I basically made a hothouse. So now it's up, so what should I do as far as,
Well, you need to leave the plastic through some hot weather, and it literally will get so hot it will bake out the weeds and things that are there. If you have a problem losing soil, that's one thing the weeds are doing, and that is their roots are holding the soil, so they may be doing you a favor. But if you want to kill out green weeds, that vinegar orange oil mix will work
well,
well.
I mean, basically, I think a lot of the stuff, I mean, the yard is, like weeds, so that's why I'm zero landscaping. So until then, to hold it, with the mulch hold it in?
Well, the mulch will certainly help hold things in place,
Okay,
sure.
that's, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Well, I saw weeds on my grape myrtle. They turn silver, and everything turns silver.
Is it like a whitish powder?
Maybe.
That would be powdery mildew. You can control that with the garlic spray or with the cornmeal water. If they're really silvery, you may have a little insect called the lace bug. Thanks for coming, guys. Lace bug can be controlled with neem or a couple of different things. Bring us a leaf and put a leaf in a plastic bag. If that happens again, we can take a look and tell you real quickly what you got.
It's
What to
still
do.
on the Asian jasmine underneath.
Bring some leaves. Yeah, let us see the patient and we'll tell you what to do. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering why you said, chicken litter for fertilizer, why is that better than?
You like cow manure? Per volume, it has a lot more nutrient in it. 100 pounds of chicken manure will have 50 times more raw nutrient than 100 pounds of cow manure. A cow manure, or a cow is a very effective processing plant. When hay goes through a cow, what comes out? There's not much left that hadn't been digested. A horse, on the other hand, is very inefficient. Horse manure will be 3 times higher in nutrient material, but it'll also be full of weed seeds and things like that.
So that wouldn't be good for a garden.
Probably not. And anything that eats hay, you have to be real careful of, because so much hay these days is treated with a horrible herbicide called picloram that goes right through the animal, comes out in the manure, and everywhere you put the manure, it kills everything except the grass.
So does it matter what the chickens eat?
Yep. No, well, yes and no, it doesn't. I don't know of any chicken manure that is not good manure. But the more protein they eat, the more nitrogen is in the feces, so to speak. But it's just poultry manure is a much more concentrated